to my son?
The rain had already soaked through Alexander Crest's suit by the time he reached the ambulance doors, but he didn't feel a thing. His palms were trembling, actually trembling, something the billionaire CEO of Crest Holdings was never supposed to do. But nothing about tonight was normal. Inside the ambulance lay his son Liam, one of his 3-year-old triplets, limp, pale and frighteningly still. What happened to him? Alexander choked out, voice cracking in a way that made the paramedic pause. He was fine 2 hours ago. He was playing, he was laughing. The paramedic avoided his eyes. Sir, you should see the footage yourself. That sentence shouldn't have meant anything. But it did. Because only Alexander and the security chief knew about the cameras in the nursery. Hidden. Silent. Illegal if his ex-wife ever found out. His breath hitched. What are you saying? The paramedic swallowed. Your maid, look, I'm not supposed to say anything. But your son's collapse wasn't accidental. Alexander's stomach clenched brutally. For a moment he forgot how to breathe. Liam's small fingers twitched, and Alexander jolted inside the ambulance, grabbing his son's hand as if holding on could change fate. I'm here, buddy. Daddy's here, okay? I'm not letting anything happen to you. But beneath that promise, a sharp, unfamiliar terror twisted in his chest. What the hell happened when he wasn't watching? Then another sentence from the paramedic landed like a knife. Your maid did something on the cameras you need to see. Something unsettling. Unsettling. Not dangerous. Unsettling. As if the man didn't know what word to use. Alexander felt the world blur for a second. His empire had survived assassinations, corporate sabotage, federal investigations, boardroom betrayals, but nothing had ever touched his children. Not until now. Not until tonight. 10 hours earlier. The nursery felt warm, calm. The soft hum of the humidifier mixed with faint lullabies. His triplets lay napping, Liam, Lucien and little Leah, each curled in their separate cribs like fragile reminders that he wasn't as alone as he felt. And that was exactly why Alexander had done it. Installed cameras. Everywhere. Miniaturized, invisible, hidden so perfectly even the security team didn't know the exact placements. He hated himself for it. He hated what his ex-wife would say if she discovered them. You're paranoid, Alex. You see enemies in shadows that aren't even there. Maybe she wasn't wrong. But paranoia kept him alive in a world that wanted him dead 5 times over. And 3 months ago, when he noticed bruises on Leah's wrist that the doctors called normal toddler bumps, he didn't believe them. Not anymore. Not after the custody battle. Not after the threats from rival CEOs. Not after the anonymous warning letter that appeared on his car windshield. Your children aren't safe with the people closest to you. He reread it every night. Until finally he snapped. Cameras. Hidden mics. Silent alerts. If he couldn't trust anyone he would watch everything. But nothing, prepared him for her. Maya. The new maid. 26. Soft-spoken. Background checks cleaner than bottled water. References glowing. A face too gentle for danger. She was the only employee who made the triplets giggle uncontrollably. The only one who could make Lucien sleep without crying. The only one who got Leah to eat broccoli without warfare. She was good. Too good. But Alexander had been tricked by soft voices before. So he watched her. Every day. And every day she did nothing suspicious. Until today. Alexander was reviewing a contract when the first camera alert pinged his phone. Unusual movement detected in Nursery 2. He frowned. The triplets should have been asleep. He tapped the alert. The feed opened. And for 2 seconds, just 2, the video glitched into static. Then came back. Maya stood over the cribs, her shoulders tight, her breathing ragged, like she'd been crying. Crying? She leaned over Liam's crib, whispering something frantically. Her hands were shaking as she adjusted his blanket. Then she looked straight, directly, at the hidden camera. As if she could see it. As if she'd known it was there all along. Alexander froze in his office chair. She can't know, he whispered under his breath. The feed returned to normal. Maya wiped her eyes. Picked up Liam. Kissed his forehead. Held him against her chest like he was hers. But what truly unsettled Alexander wasn't what she did. It was the expression on her face. Fear. Not of him. Not of the children. Fear of something else entirely. Please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa, Nigeria or Jamaica? We want to know. Sir, his head of security knocked. We've detected tampering in the East Hall system. Alexander stiffened. Tampering? With what? Camera feeds. Someone tried to reroute access protocols. His throat tightened. Who? We're tracing it. But, sir, the attempt came from inside the house. Inside. His fingers twitched on his desk. Search everything, he ordered. Every device. Every employee's room. I want to know who touched my systems. The guard hesitated. And, the maid. Alexander's eyes narrowed. Especially her. He didn't like suspicion. He didn't like where his mind was going. But he also didn't like coincidences. Especially not in his world. The alert wasn't movement this time. It was sound. A whisper. A trembling, quiet whisper from the nursery mic. Maya's voice. I don't know how much longer I can hide this. Alexander's pulse thudded. I'd what? He turned up the audio. They'll kill me if they find out. But I can't let them take you. Not you. Not again. Again. Alexander shot to his feet. Because that meant one thing. She wasn't talking to the kids. She was talking to someone else. Someone he couldn't see. Someone the cameras couldn't catch. Someone inside his house. His blood ran cold. Who the hell is she hiding? As Liam's stretcher was wheeled into the hospital, Alexander followed with a firestorm of panic and fury boiling under his ribs. Maya had disappeared. No one knew where she went. His security team found her room empty. Phone smashed. Clothes gone. Window open. She'd fled minutes after the ambulance left. Which meant she knew exactly what happened. Or who did it. Or why. And that made her more dangerous than any corporate enemy he'd ever faced. Alexander clenched his fists. I swear, he rasped under his breath, voice shaking with a promise only broken men made, I will find out what she did. And why. But beneath the rage was something else. A memory. A single haunting detail he couldn't shake. Liam collapsed exactly 3 minutes after Maya whispered. I can't let them take you. Take him? Take the triplets? Take what? Alexander's heart pounded violently. For the first time in years, the billionaire felt truly, terrifyingly powerless. And utterly in the dark. Liam was taken straight into the emergency room, doctors shouting numbers Alexander barely processed. Something about blood pressure. Something about oxygen saturation. Something about toxins. Toxins. He felt like the hallway walls suddenly caved in around him. His son. 3 years old. Toxins. His breath stuttered painfully, and he grabbed the edge of a chair like a drowning man clutching a rope. Dr. Soren, the pediatric specialist, approached with urgency etched into his face. Mr. Crest, Don't soften it, Alexander snapped, voice raw. Just say it. Dr. Soren exhaled. Your son's vitals suggest exposure to a slow-acting sedative. Not lethal, but dangerous enough to cause collapse in a child his size. Alexander's jaw clenched until it ached. Sedative? As in given intentionally? The doctor didn't nod. But he didn't deny it. Someone drugged my son, Alexander whispered, more to himself as if testing the words he feared were true. Dr. Soren hesitated, then added quietly, what's strange is, he wasn't given enough to kill him. More like, enough to scare someone. Or send a message. A message. Alexander felt his skin crawl. Who would send a message through his children? He stormed out of the ER hallway, pulse thundering. His head of security, O'Neill, rushed toward him. Sir, we found something. Something you need to see. Alexander didn't trust his voice, so he just nodded sharply. O'Neill led him to a quiet corner of the waiting area where a tablet was open, displaying recovered camera footage. It's from the nursery. Timestamp, 20 minutes before Liam collapsed. Alexander swallowed hard and hit play. The video started normally. The triplets were in their cribs, fussy but fine. Maya entered. Her steps were jittery, her eyes darting like she expected someone to be behind her. But then she froze. Looked toward the doorway. Someone was standing there. Someone the camera angle didn't capture. Who the hell is that? Alexander muttered. O'Neill shook his head. We're enhancing the shadow. But watch her hands. Alexander leaned in. Maya lifted a small vial from her apron pocket. His stomach twisted violently. But instead of giving it to the children, she threw it into the trash bin and stepped on it, smashing the vial to powder. What? Alexander whispered. If she meant to drug them, why destroy it? O'Neill nodded grimly. Sir, keep watching. Maya turned toward the unseen figure. Her lips trembled. Please, she whispered, barely audible. I can't do this anymore. Alexander's chest tightened. The unseen person moved. And Maya flinched violently. Don't come closer, she pleaded, backing up until she hit the crib. Her hands hovered protectively near the triplets. Protectively. Alexander's heart thudded painfully. Who the hell was threatening her? Inside his own home? The shadow stepped forward enough for one detail to show. An expensive wristwatch. Custom. Limited edition. Crest Holdings executive gift. Alexander's breath left him in a harsh exhale. Only 7 of those watches existed in the world. And 6 of them were worn by his top executives. Sir, O'Neill said, voice low, we might be dealing with an internal betrayal. Alexander's fists curled slowly, his muscles rigid. His own people. His own empire. Someone had used Maya. Threatened her. Forced her. And now, Liam was paying for it. He scrubbed a hand over his face, forcing air into his lungs. Maya's last words on the footage played again in his head. I can't let them take you, not again. Again. None of it made sense. Why was a maid involved in anything concerning his enemies? What did take you again mean? What happened before she came to his house? Alexander stood abruptly. Pull every piece of data we have on Maya, he ordered. Every job, every reference, every address. Cross-check everything. O'Neill nodded. Already on it. And the security team? They're searching the estate. But whoever was in that room with her, they knew how to avoid cameras. Alexander swallowed bitter anger. Someone inside his inner circle was smart enough to evade detection. Smart enough to manipulate a terrified maid. Smart enough to poison his son just enough to send a warning shot. Which meant, this isn't about my children, Alexander whispered. It's about me. 2 hours later. The triplets were asleep in a secured pediatric suite. Liam had stabilized, but the sedative traces still concerned the doctors. Alexander sat beside Leah and Lucien's beds, running a trembling thumb over their tiny hands. He felt like a man standing on the edge of a cliff, blindfolded. The door opened. O'Neill entered, carrying a folder so thick it looked like he dug through the entire country. Sir, he said carefully, there's something you need to know about Maya. Alexander stiffened. O'Neill placed the folder on the table, flipping to a page of records. Her real name isn't Maya Bennett. Alexander's heart dropped. She used an alias? Yes. And that's not the worst part. O'Neill turned another page. Alexander froze. A police report. 4 years old. A burnt-down orphanage. Children missing. A mysterious benefactor covering all costs. And one survivor, listed as Maria Arletis. Age 22 at the time. The same age Maya would have been. Why would she hide this? Alexander muttered, throat tight. O'Neill hesitated. Sir, there's one more page. He flipped it open. A photograph. Alexander's blood ran ice cold. It was Maya, much younger, bruised, frightened, standing beside a man who held her by the arm. A man Alexander recognized instantly. Please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa, Nigeria or Jamaica? We want to know. Richard Vance. Former COO of Crest Holdings. Former mentor. Former friend. A man Alexander had fired for embezzlement 2 years ago. A man who'd vowed revenge when he lost everything. Oh God, Alexander whispered. He found her again. O'Neill nodded grimly. We believe Vance forced her to infiltrate your household. Alexander pressed his palms to his face. Everything clicked horribly into place. The shadow in the nursery. Maya's fear. The bruises she hid under her sleeves. The whisper, they'll kill me if they find out. And worst of all, I can't let them take you, not again. Take you. Alexander lifted his head sharply. Sir? O'Neill asked. Alexander's voice trembled. She wasn't talking to my children. Then who? Someone else was in that room. Someone the camera didn't catch. O'Neill stared, confused. Sir, who? Alexander's breath left him in a single horrifying realization. Maya was protecting someone. He swallowed hard. And whoever it is, they're still inside my house. Alexander didn't waste a second. He left the triplets' room with a speed that startled even O'Neill. Run a full thermal scan of the entire mansion, he ordered sharply. Now. O'Neill signaled the command to security. Yes, sir, but what exactly are we looking for? Alexander's jaw flexed. Someone small. Someone scared. Someone Maya hid. O'Neill froze. You mean a child? Alexander didn't answer. His silence said enough. The hallway monitors flickered to life, scanning each floor with sweeping infrared heat signatures. Rooms appeared normal. Storage areas empty. Bathrooms clear. Until. There. Alexander pointed at the basement overlay. Replay that. A faint human-sized heat signature moved behind a wall. But the only thing behind that wall was... There's no room there, O'Neill said, confused. Alexander exhaled slowly. There is. I just never put it on the blueprints. O'Neill blinked. Sir, you have a hidden room? Alexander swallowed. Long story. He didn't elaborate. Couldn't. Not now. He sprinted toward the basement stairwell, heart hammering, sweat beading at his brow despite the cold. If Maya hid someone? If that someone was connected to Vance? If Vance was willing to drug Liam to get a message across? Then the secret hiding in that room might be the detonator to everything. The lights flickered as Alexander descended the stairs. Not a power issue. Someone else was down here. He motioned for O'Neill and his men to stay behind him. He reached the concrete wall, the one no one else knew was a door. He pressed the hidden latch. The panel slid open with a low hiss. Darkness. Cold air. And then, a small, frantic gasp. Alexander stepped inside. His breath caught. In the corner, curled tightly like a trapped animal, was a child. A little girl. Maybe 5. Thin, terrified, staring at him with wide, trembling eyes. She clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, shaking so hard the toy rattled. Alexander's voice broke. Oh God. O'Neill whispered, Sir, who is she? Alexander didn't know. But the girl's next word nearly took the ground from under him. Daddy? Alexander jolted. His heart stumbled painfully as he knelt slowly. Sweetheart. I'm not your father. The girl's chin quivered. And Mama said you'd pretend not to know, so you'd be safe. Mama. Maya. O'Neill's eyes widened. Sir, she said Mama. That means... I heard her, Alexander said quietly. He extended his hand gently. What's your name? She hesitated. Liliana. The name sliced through him. That's Maya's real sister's name, O'Neill whispered. Alexander felt like someone punched him in the ribs. Maya had a sister? She did, sir. Missing since the orphanage fire. Presumed dead. But she wasn't dead. She was here. In his house. Hidden. Protected. And terrified. Alexander turned to the child again, voice barely steady. Why were you hiding, Liliana? She swallowed hard, eyes glistening. Because, the bad man said he'll take me back if Mama doesn't finish her job. Alexander's chest constricted violently. Richard Vance, he whispered. The girl nodded, trembling harder. He comes at night, through the window. Alexander stiffened. He's been inside my house? She nodded again. He talks to Mama. He hurts her. He says Mama must listen, or he'll burn another home. Alexander's vision flickered with rage. Vance wasn't manipulating Maya. He was torturing her. Using her sister as leverage. And Maya wasn't a threat. She was a shield. A broken one. Trying desperately to protect someone tiny, vulnerable, and utterly helpless. O'Neill stepped forward. Sir, we need to move her. The house might not be secure. No, Alexander said sharply, scooping the girl into his arms. We need to hunt him instead. Security converged with weapons drawn. Sir, we have movement on the West Wing cameras. Someone breached the garden gate. Alexander's grip tightened on Liliana. Show me. The nearest monitor switched screens. A man in dark clothing crossed the lawn with deliberate steps. Broad shoulders. Confident stride. Mask on. But the wrist was visible. The watch. Alexander hissed through clenched teeth. It's him. O'Neill readied the team. Do we intercept? No, Alexander's voice was low, lethal. We trap him. He turned to Liliana. Sweetheart, I need you to tell me the truth. Did he ever hurt you? She shook her head fast. Too fast. He hurt Mama. He said he would hurt me next if she didn't come back with the baby. Alexander froze. The baby? She nodded slowly. He said he wants the smallest one. He wants to sell him. Alexander's blood went ice cold. Sell? His mind flashed to Liam. To the faint sedative. To the ambulance. To the paramedic calling it a message. Vance didn't want to kill Liam. He wanted him taken. Kidnapped. Trafficked. Ransomed. Sold. Alexander felt something primal ignite inside him. No one, he whispered, voice shaking with fury, touches my children. O'Neill moved closer. Sir, what's the plan? Alexander exhaled a slow, deadly breath. We're going to let him inside. Security lights were dimmed. Patrol routes redirected. A single path left open, the one leading straight to the nursery. Vance took the bait. Alexander watched him through the monitors. The man moved with practiced calm, disabling sensors he should not know existed. Inside knowledge, O'Neill muttered. He must have someone feeding him intel. Alexander's jaw flexed. We'll deal with that after we get him. Vance reached the nursery door. Paused. Checked his watch. Then reached into his jacket and pulled out a syringe. Alexander's stomach lurched. Move, he commanded. O'Neill signaled the team silently. They fanned out through the hall, closing in. Vance pushed the nursery door open. He stepped in. Took 3 steps toward the crib. Raised the syringe. Now, Alexander said. Security stormed the room. Vance spun instantly, fluidly, too ready, like he'd expected them. He grabbed the crib rail and kicked it toward the window as a distraction. Glass shattered. Lucien screamed. Security lunged. Vance ducked, slamming his elbow into a guard's throat, then twisting another man's wrist until it snapped. Alexander shoved into the room, rage blinding him. Vance? The man turned. Paused. Even behind the mask, Alexander saw the smirk. Hello, Alex. He bolted toward the window. Alexander charged after him. Security tackled. Vance slipped free. He sprinted across the broken glass onto the balcony railing. A leap away from escape. Alexander dove. He tackled Vance midair. They crashed into the balcony floor. The syringe rolled away. Vance swung a punch into Alexander's ribs, snarling, "You ruined my life." Alexander grabbed his collar, dragging him forward with pure fury. "You touched my children." Vance produced a blade from his sleeve. Alexander barely dodged the slash. Blood splattered from his arm. O'Neill shouted, "Sir." Vance twisted, kicking Alexander off him. He scrambled to his feet and sprinted for the roof exit, but stopped at the doorway, turned, lifted his chin, and said the words that made Alexander's blood freeze. "You're focusing on the wrong enemy." He smiled under the mask. "Because someone else, someone closer, already has what I came for." Alexander's heart stopped. "What did you say?" Vance tapped his watch. "Check your cameras, Alex." Then he vanished up the stairs before anyone could catch him. Alexander grabbed the nearby monitor tablet, hands shaking. Pulled up the nursery feed. Leah and Lucien, still in their cribs. Liam, safe in the pediatric ward. He switched to the guest wing. Then the East Hall. Then the staff rooms. And he saw it. A figure. Carrying something small. Wrapped in a blanket. Walking calmly out the side door. Someone he knew. Someone he trusted. Someone who shouldn't be carrying a child. Alexander's vision went white with horror. "No," he whispered, staggering. The figure turned toward the camera. And Alexander felt his soul plummet. It was his own sister. Please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa, Nigeria or Jamaica? We want to know. For 3 full seconds, Alexander couldn't breathe. Not in shock. Not in fear. But in a cold, slicing disbelief that numbed his entire body. His sister, Serafina. Board member. Trusted bloodline. Godmother to his children. Walking out the side door with a child wrapped in a blanket. "Zoom in," Alexander rasped. O'Neill's fingers trembled as he expanded the footage. The blanket shifted slightly. Not Leah. Not Lucien. Alexander's chest tightened violently. Was Liam. Not in the pediatric ward. Not under sedation. In her arms, unconscious. "Move!" Alexander roared. Security scrambled, boots pounding through the corridor. "Lock every exit. Seal the basement. Activate perimeter drones. Block the south gate." Alarms blared across the mansion like a warship under assault. O'Neill sprinted beside Alexander. "Sir," Serafina had clearance. Her card disabled the alarm for the side door. "Override." Alexander barked. It's not responding." Someone tampered with the access grid. Alexander's nostrils flared. Inside man. Another one. He grabbed O'Neill's arm. "Track her GPS." O'Neill hesitated. "Sir, her chip is offline. Disabled manually." Alexander's pulse thrashed. Only someone trained would know how to disable a tracking implant. And Serafina was very, very trained. They burst out into the cold night at about 12 a.m. The gravel was disturbed. Fresh footprints. A faint smear of something, milk from Liam's abandoned bottle. "Sir," a guard called from across the lawn, "we have tire marks." Alexander stormed over. A black SUV had recently pulled away. But the direction, it didn't lead to the road. O'Neill's tablet pinged. "What is it?" Alexander snapped. O'Neill swallowed. "Sir, we picked up heat signatures in the North Woods. Moving fast. 3 figures." Alexander frowned. 3? She was alone. Not anymore. Another betrayal. Another accomplice. Alexander clenched his fists so hard his knuckles cracked. "Send the drone." O'Neill launched it instantly. The drone ascended, then crashed into the ground in sparks and flames. "Shot down. Snipe." Alexander exhaled sharply. "She has support. Professional support." Alexander knew this property better than God knew Eden. And only one route allowed someone to escape without hitting the main perimeter. "The old equestrian trail," he muttered. "She's heading for the river." O'Neill blinked. "Why?" Alexander answered through clenched teeth. "Because that's where the underground road begins." O'Neill froze. "That road was sealed." "Sealed," Alexander said darkly, "not destroyed." They ran. Branches whipped their faces as they sprinted through the dense trees. Security fanned out. O'Neill tracked the heat signatures again. They just stopped moving. Stopped. Alexander snapped. "Why?" "Sir, it looks like they're waiting for someone." Alexander's stomach twisted. Another car? Another accomplice? Bats? Or worse, someone higher. Leaves crunched. Alexander raised his hand, signal to freeze. Ahead, a faint light flickered through the trees. O'Neill whispered, "Sir, 2 people. One holding Liam. One on comms." Alexander inhaled slowly. "Is Serafina armed?" O'Neill zoomed in on thermal. "Negative. But the other figure is. Do you recognize them?" O'Neill zoomed further. The silhouette stiffened. Turned slightly. Angle clearer. O'Neill's eyes widened. "Sir, it's Adrian Hale." Alexander's blood chilled. Adrian Hale. Former business partner. Disgraced. Power-hungry. Burned Alexander once and vanished. Now returned. With Liam in hand. Alexander stepped forward, ditching stealth. This wasn't a mission. This was blood. "Serafina," he shouted. The woman jerked, spinning around. She hugged Liam tighter against her chest. "Alex, stop. Please." Adrian smirked from behind her. Hands in pockets. Blade hidden in sleeve. "Always dramatic," Adrian drawled. "Just like old times." Alexander ignored him. "Serafina," he said quietly, "give me my son." Tears shone in her eyes. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I'm saving him." Alexander's voice was ice. "By kidnapping him?" Adrian chuckled. "She didn't kidnap him. She rescued him from Vance. And from you." Alexander's jaw clenched. "From me?" Serafina's lip trembled. "Alex, someone in your household was going to sell Liam tonight. Vance wasn't alone. There's another buyer. Someone with access." Alexander blinked. O'Neill froze beside him. "Who?" Alexander rasped. Serafina shook her head. "I can't say yet. They're watching everything. Listening to everything. I needed to get Liam out before." A shot cracked. Everyone ducked. A bullet whizzed past Serafina's head, hitting the tree behind her. Another shot. Then a third. Adrian swore. "We've been followed." Alexander's heart pounded. "Who?" Serafina's voice broke into a whisper. "Vance. He tracked us." Gunfire erupted from the west. O'Neill shoved Alexander behind a trunk. "Sir, get down." Adrian pulled Serafina behind a fallen log, shielding Liam. More shots rained through the darkness. Sharp, controlled, tactical. "Vance has a team," O'Neill yelled. Alexander peeked through the branches. Saw silhouettes advancing. Black tactical gear. Night vision scopes. This wasn't revenge. This was a retrieval operation. Liam was the target. Adrian snarled, pulling out a compact pistol. "Alex, we need to move or we're all dead." Alexander hesitated. Adrian Hale, enemy, was offering help. Serafina cried, shielding Liam. "Please, Alex." Alexander made the choice. "Fall back," he yelled. "Form a circle around them, protect the baby." Security scrambled to reposition. Shots tore through trees. Bark flew. Leaves exploded. A guard collapsed with a groan. O'Neill returned fire. "We're outnumbered." Adrian fired 2 precise shots, dropping 2 incoming attackers. Then he glanced at Alexander. "You want your son?" he said. "Then trust me for the next 10 minutes." A shadow lunged from the left. Alexander tackled him, disarmed him, smashed his head against a rock. Another grabbed Serafina's arm. Adrian slit his forearm and kicked him down. A third man got dangerously close, just inches from pulling Liam out of Serafina's grasp. Alexander's heart nearly stopped. He sprinted, faster than he'd moved in years. He slammed into the man. They tumbled over the rocky ground. Alexander ripped the knife from his hand and shoved him face first into the dirt. Breaths ragged, hands shaking. He turned to Serafina. Is he okay? She nodded frantically. Yes. Yes, he's breathing, he's safe. But Alexander saw something else. Fear. Regret. Panic. Not for herself. For him. O'Neill fired another shot. Sir, we need to retreat to higher ground. Adrian shook his head. No. That's what they want. Alexander glared. Then what? Adrian pointed deeper into the woods. There's a bunker. Old government hideout. Reinforced. Hidden. Alexander's eyes narrowed. You expect me to walk into a bunker you control? Adrian smirked. No. I expect you to walk into one your father built. Alexander froze. My father, what? Serafina choked a sob. Alex, there's so much you don't know. Vance isn't the only one after Liam. Alexander felt his heart twist violently. Then who else? Adrian stepped closer, gaze cold. Your family, he said. Not Serafina. He pointed behind Alexander. To the person who sold your security codes. Alexander turned slowly, and saw a figure emerging from the shadows. Someone he trusted more than almost anyone. Someone who should never be here. Someone with a gun pointed directly at Liam. And Alexander's breath shattered. Mother? Please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa, Nigeria or Jamaica? We want to know. Alexander's mother stepped fully into the clearing, calm, composed, immaculate even in the chaos. Gun in hand. Ice cold. Expression unreadable. Lower your weapon, Alexander said hoarsely. She didn't blink. Didn't budge. Didn't even breathe differently. Give me the child, Serafina, she said softly. Serafina clutched Liam closer. No. Alexander stepped between them. Explain. Now. His mother tilted her head, almost pitying him. You were never meant to lead the family, Alex. Your father knew you were emotional, reckless, weak. The words sliced him open. Is that why you're pointing a gun at your grandson? She exhaled slowly. The boy is more than that. He is leverage. Serafina gasped. Adrian muttered a curse. O'Neill gripped his weapon tighter. Alexander's heart squeezed painfully. Leverage for who? He whispered. For the council, she replied. The council. A shadow organization his father once tangled with. People who controlled markets, political tides, disappearances, everything elite and hidden. Alexander had cut ties years ago. Apparently his mother had not. You're working with them? He asked, voice cracking. I never stopped, she said. Richard Vance is merely a foot soldier. Adrian, she looked toward him with disgust. A disgrace. But you. She raised the gun directly at Alexander. You were supposed to bring the family back into power. And instead you started playing hero. Her eyes flicked to Liam. The council wants the child. His DNA is unique. Valuable. Alexander stepped closer. You're sick. No, she whispered. I'm loyal. A twig snapped behind them. A shadow moved. More council operatives. Alexander's mind ran at a million speeds. His mother had brought reinforcements. The woods weren't an escape route. They were a trap. Give me the child, she insisted. Alexander raised his hands slowly. Mother, you raised me. You held me when I was sick. You taught me to fight, to protect, to survive. And look what you've become, she said sharply. A man who protects the wrong people. He swallowed, voice trembling. Then let's negotiate. No more talking, she snapped. Hand him over. Serafina curled around Liam, whispering, it's okay, as tears streamed. O'Neill aimed at the operatives flanking them. Adrian muttered, this is bad, Alex. Really bad. Alexander nodded. Then whispered something no one expected. Adrian, take the shot. Adrian's eyes snapped wide. Are you sure? Alexander exhaled shakily. Yes. His mother smirked. You won't kill me. I know, Alexander whispered. But I didn't say shoot you. Adrian fired. A single shot rang out, piercing the branch above her head. It crashed down like a hammer. crushing the gun out of her hand. She screamed. O'Neill fired at the operatives. Adrian pulled Serafina into cover. Alexander launched forward, hands shaking, adrenaline burning his veins. Get Liam out of here, Alexander shouted. Serafina sprinted through the trees, Adrian at her side. His mother stumbled, gripping her arm. You think this ends with me? She spat. Alexander looked at her. Saw everything clearly for the first time. The cold ambition. The loyalty to a shadow. The lack of remorse. He felt his chest tighten, not in anger this time but grief. You're still my mother, he whispered. But you will never touch my children again. She lunged for the gun. Alexander kicked it away, sending it skidding across the forest floor. Operatives closed in. Alexander raised his fists. Come on, he growled. They attacked. He fought like an animal protecting its young. Elbows cracking jaws, knees buckling ribs, fists smashing faces. O'Neill covered him, firing precise shots into the shadows. Security reinforcements arrived, overwhelming the remaining operatives. Alexander turned just in time to see his mother being restrained. She looked at him with a strange mixture of pride and hatred. You were never meant to fight the council, she hissed between breaths. They will come for you again. He stared at her. They can come, he said softly. I'm done running. After the long night they returned to the mansion at about 3 a.m. battered, bruised, bleeding. Paramedics tended to the wounded. Security swept every corridor twice. Drones circled the perimeter. Serafina sat in the nursery, holding a groggy but safe Liam, unable to stop crying. Alexander approached slowly. She flinched. He knelt beside her. I'm not here to blame you, he said quietly. I'm here to thank you. She broke down harder. I didn't know who to trust. And when I found out about the council's plan, I panicked. I thought if I could get Liam away long enough. You were trying to save him, Alexander whispered. I understand. She squeezed his hand. Adrian leaned against the wall, arms crossed, wounded. He gave Alexander a nod. Not a truce. Not forgiveness. Just an acknowledgement. They'd survived something together. O'Neill stepped in. Sir. Maya? Alexander stood. She's next. Just about 4 a.m. They found Maya in the staff quarters, in tears, pacing, terrified. She rushed forward the moment she saw them. Is Liliana safe? Please tell me she's safe. Alexander held up a hand gently. She's safe. I promise. Maya crumbled, sobbing into her hands. Alexander waited. When she finally looked up, eyes red, face swollen, he asked, Why didn't you tell me sooner? She shook. Because Vance said, if I spoke, even one word, he'd kill her. Burn her. Like the orphanage. Alexander's chest tightened. Maya, you're not my enemy. She stared at him. You mean that? I do. He stepped closer. And I'll protect both of you. Forever. She broke completely. O'Neill escorted her to medical for treatment. Liliana sat on the bed nearby, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Alexander lifted her gently. You're safe now, he whispered. She nodded slowly. Will Mama be okay? Alexander exhaled quietly. She will be. Then. We all will be. Just early in the morning. The mansion was quiet. Too quiet. Alexander stood alone on the balcony, watching the sunrise bleed into the sky. His children safe. His allies battered but alive. His enemies exposed. But the council still existed. Vance was still out there. And his mother's warning echoed. They will come for you again. He closed his eyes. For the first time in years he was afraid. Not for himself. But for the tiny lives sleeping upstairs. A door opened behind him. Serafina stepped out, hair messy, eyes swollen. So, what now? She whispered. Alexander turned to her. Soft voice. Steady gaze. We prepare. She exhaled. For war. He looked toward the horizon. No, he said. For whatever is coming. He didn't know what the council wanted. He didn't know how deep the betrayal went. He didn't know which ally would turn next. But he knew one thing. He would burn the world before letting anyone touch his children again. The sun rose. The long night was over. But the war was just beginning. Please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa, Nigeria or Jamaica? We want to know.